Have we seen his best days in the octagon? Will the king ever rise again? Welcome to Sportskeeda MMA's The Rise and Fall of Conor McGregor, where we take an in-depth look at the Notorious One's legendary life and career. Born into a working-class family in suburban Dublin, Conor McGregor didn't always enjoy the life of luxury that we often see displayed on his Instagram page. Before the Lamborghini yachts, before the Rolex watches, before the million-dollar sponsorship deals, McGregor's daily routine consisted of 14-hour shifts as an apprentice plumber, and the little time he had left, he spent in the gym training and boxing. From a young age, McGregor knew he wanted to fight. Often bullied for his lack of size, Conor took up boxing lessons when he was 12 and continued honing his craft into his teens by adding karate, capoeira, and grappling into his arsenal. However, a prize fighter's life was anything but lucrative, especially for an upstart. So for 17-year-old Conor, having a reliable source of income means he's stuck fixing leaky pipes and unclogging toilets. No one ever doubted McGregor's work ethic, but looking back, the Dublin native admitted that he hated every minute of it. 18 months into the job, McGregor decided enough was enough. Against his better judgment, or so it would seem at the time, McGregor devoted all of his time and energy to becoming a fighter. At first, McGregor wanted to be a professional boxer. However, Straight Blast Gym Ireland head coach John Kavanagh convinced him to pursue a career in MMA instead, which in hindsight was the right call. It took McGregor 5 years fighting in local promotions, but eventually, his talent would not be denied. The UFC soon came knocking on McGregor's door with a relatively humble contract, but it was the possibility of having a new life that drew the Irishman in. In February 2013, McGregor signed with the top MMA organization in the world with nothing but big dreams and an even bigger chip on his shoulder. Fast forward to a year later, and McGregor has had himself an impressive winning streak for an up-and-comer. In his first 3 fights, McGregor collected impressive victories over the likes of Marcus Brimage, Max Holloway, and Diego Brandao. At this point, the UFC thought McGregor was ready for a legitimate step up in competition. To test him, matchmakers paired the Notorious with fellow rising star Dustin Poirier. A few occasions in sports stand out as an athlete's defining moment: Michael Jordan's game-clinching jump shot in the 1998 NBA Finals, Serena Williams capturing her first Grand Slam at the 1999 US Open, and Diego Maradona's Hand of God goal in the 1986 World Cup. For McGregor, it was UFC 194 in December 2015. Since then, McGregor's stars continue to shine brighter and brighter. Not even a loss to Nate Diaz could derail his ascent as he got back to where he was after getting the win back. For a time, it appeared that McGregor was Teflon. McGregor would not be intent with inhibiting just one division though. In today's landscape, pursuing 2 titles is pretty standard practice for any UFC champ. But lest we forget, McGregor was the first one to do it. He became the first ever champ in 2016 by defeating Eddie Alvarez in spectacular fashion by technical knockout. Just like that, McGregor took himself from the mean streets of Crumlin and against all odds, climbed to the top of the freaking world. The following year, McGregor would make history once again by entering the world of professional boxing to face fellow combat sports icon Floyd Mayweather. Unsurprisingly, McGregor lost that bout. However, the Irishman held his own against the man many believed to be the greatest boxer alive, and in the process, set the record for the second highest pay-per-view sales in history. With a bank account full of millions, McGregor could have ridden into the sunset and retired as a mythical figure. But of course, we all know that's not how this story ends. McGregor was on top of the world. He became the first fighter to hold titles in 2 different divisions simultaneously. And although he lost his pro boxing debut against Mayweather, the figures in his bank account grew exponentially, reaching a point that other MMA stars can only dream of getting to. Losing to Floyd Mayweather in boxing is no shame at all. Even all-time boxing greats like Manny Pacquiao, Canelo Alvarez, and Miguel Cotto were unable to take the man's zero. All things considered, McGregor did well for an athlete from a completely different sport. After 2 years away from the octagon, the Notorious decided to reclaim what was his, the UFC lightweight title. Except this time around, the title holder happened to be one of the most talented fighters of his generation. He's more dominant and, quite frankly, more terrifying than Eddie Alvarez ever was. That man, of course, was an undefeated superstar and current UFC Hall of Famer Khabib Nurmagomedov. By now though, we're already aware that McGregor doesn't back down from challenges. McGregor even made it a point to send Khabib a message when he, along with a few teammates, stormed the Barclays Center during a UFC 223 press event. In what is known as the infamous McGregor bus attack, the former champ threw a steel dolly through a window of a bus, carrying Khabib and a few other fighters. The Irishman ended up getting charged with 3 counts of felony assault and 1 count of criminal mischief. Nonetheless, he successfully got his message across. And it was loud and clear. He wasn't afraid of the indomitable Khabib. Against all odds, McGregor went into the octagon with a mission to take out the biggest dog in the yard. Except this time around, the odds proved to be too much to overcome. The Irishman took the worst beatings of his life before the Dagestani forced him to tap out in front of a sold-out Las Vegas crowd, with millions of fans watching around the world. With his star power starting to wane, McGregor was in desperate need of a significant victory. And beating a post-prime Donald Cowboy Cerrone, no matter how dominant he looked, just won't cut it. So what was the move to salvage his troubled career? Going back to the well with one Dustin Poirier. Ultimately, it wasn't another big shot that ended McGregor's night. It was a freak accident that saw the Notorious breaking a shin bone and being unable to continue fighting. Now, on top of having 3 losses in his last 4 fights, McGregor would have to contend with the fact that his body isn't the same as it once was. If UFC President Dana White is to be believed, McGregor should make his long-awaited comeback sometime later this year or early next year. Of course, worrying about McGregor is only natural, given the string of events he has had to deal with over the past several months. But if we know one thing about McGregor, is that he's been a fighter through and through. He's made a career out of defying odds, and perhaps he could do it one more time. And that will do it for today's video. If you enjoyed our content, make sure to like and share the video. Don't forget to follow Sportskeeda MMA on all of our social media platforms.